Hey guys, welcome back. I absolutely love multifamily because it's one of the easiest places to manage. Like you've got economy of scale. All your tenants are in one place. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to manage your multifamily property. All right, first I'm gonna give you some tips on how to find the best tenants. Then I'm gonna talk about how to keep the best tenants, and by the end of this, you're gonna know all the ins and outs of how to be the best manager of your multifamily property. All right, so let's face it. If you want to attract the best tenants, you need to be an attractive multifamily property. So this means like a fresh coat of paint, new roof, new siding, everything needs to look immaculate and in place. Guys, I'm sorry, the slumlord business has been out for a long time. You got to spend money to make money, as my wife always tells me, because I'll try and cut corners on something. Nope, we got to put in the nice stuff. You got to rip out the rotten siding and repaint over and make that thing new and pretty. If you want to attract the best, you got to be the best. So that's one way. Number two is don't be at the top of the market. Tenants that have an 800 credit score, which is very few and far between, but you will find them because a lot of times they don't hunker down. They might be only in that location for a couple years, but tenants that have 800 credit scores do not pay top of the market. Why should they? Why would they? Because they have an 800 credit score. They're absolutely perfect with paying their debt and their bills. So you should give them a discount. And these are gonna be ultimately the best people that you can find. So what's a little tip about that? If the going rate in an area is, say, $1,500 a month, which you might say, Brent, that's absolutely low. Have you seen what's going on with rents? Yes. Well, let's get in while we can because rents are never going to go down. If you look at history over the last 30 years, rents have constantly increased. So if the top of the rent is $1,500 a month for a good location, what if you were that guy out there charging $1,400 a month? You are going to attract the best. And let me tell you, people with bad credit, people with problems, people with histories, people with felonies, people with you name it, rap sheets, these are the guys that will pay over market rent. I'm not saying go out there and take advantage of those people. I'm just saying that if you're charging over market rent, the 800 credit score people, the best tenants are not even going to apply for your unit. And let me just tell you how I learned this. One of the first houses I purchased in 2007, I used to rent out for a little bit over market value. Guess who I attracted? I attracted felons. I had all the windows of the front of my house busted out one time. I had my house destroyed. I had graffiti on the inside. Like I had feces on the wall that was almost 6 foot up where they had to do that. And I only attracted the worst tenants. And when I started charging less, and I learned this from a property manager named Colin Smith at Solid Rock Realty in Colorado Springs, one of the best realtors ever. He said, you gotta be below, just a little bit below market value. And guess who manages my units now? Colin Smith with Solid Rock Realty in Colorado Springs. We actually bought a 19-unit apartment complex together, and he's the one managing the tenants there because he is very good. He understands the best way to manage a multifamily unit. And that brings me to my next point, is hiring a good property manager. In the beginning, I used to pay a realtor 1 month lease to find me a good tenant. The realtor would find me a good tenant, and sometimes I would pay 10%. But now that I've hired Solid Rock Realty, this is my property manager, they actually charged only 10% of what's collected. So if they collect, first month, they don't charge anything from the security deposit they collect. But that first month rent, if it's $1,000, they're only taking $100. And if the next month's rent was $1,000, they're only taking $100 next month after it's collected. So they actually only collect 10% of what they actually collect. And this is a game changer. This is a steal of a deal because ultimately I was paying a realtor just to bring me a tenant and I was managing it. They manage it for me now. So they're taking the calls at night when the toilet's exploding or the plumbing's backed up, you name it, any problems, they're taking the call and they're taking it out of the account, they're fixing it, like it's all done for you. So a good property manager is a game changer. Maybe you're saying, well, Brent, I don't have anybody like that in my area. Well, go out and find that person and train that person, or maybe even partner with a realtor that wants to start property managing and you guys can buy them together. I've seen that win and work for many people. Like they partner with a realtor that wants to property manage it, and ultimately you have the vested interest because they are an owner of that property too, and you can do so much more with a team rather than just by yourself. All right, so if you want to screen your own tenants, you might not want to hire the property manager or that realtor that I talked about. Head on over to mysmartmove.com. That's mysmartmove.com. you can have the tenant actually pay the application fee, which is like $40, and it's done for you. And they tell you, like, they give you a little score, like, or a yes or a no. You can see their background, you can see their criminal record, you can see if they were pulled over in Illinois 13 years ago for speeding. Like, all these little things are made available to you as a landlord. All right, I want to tell you about a hidden little secret about managing multifamily properties and making a tremendous amount of money doing it. But before I do, I want you to hit like on this button and also comment. Comment if you ever have purchased a multifamily, if you're managing it yourself or you're paying someone else to do it, and what that area was, what city it was. So go ahead and like and comment on this video. That's a small payment to me building these videos, and it shows YouTube that we are credible. All right, back to that pro tip. And it is called, well, let me, before I get the cat out of the bag. Oh, I think I just did. I let the cat out of the bag actually already just by saying cat out of the bag. It's by allowing people to bring their pet, their cat, their dog. Here's what's really cool about owning rentals. You can't charge for the little tiny humans that they bring in, like named AKA kids. I've got 3 kids. They destroy my house so much more than my dog does. But what's really cool is we can charge what's called pet rent and a pet security deposit. So you can collect an extra pet security deposit for it in case their pet pees on the carpet or whatever. And then you can also charge pet rent from anywhere from, I don't know, $25 to $45 a month for that little pet that lives in that house. And it's probably not really doing any damage to it, but people love their pets and they're never gonna get rid of them. So that's another moneymaker you can do as a landlord. Now, don't get crazy about it because you don't wanna make that have to give their pet away just to move into that property. And sometimes cats, like, they will hide the cat. So that's one thing you want to do is quarterly inspections. That brings me to this point now is every single quarter you want to have in your lease that you've got the right to do a property like health and wellness walkthrough. You want to make sure there's no bugs. You want to make sure there's not a litter box somewhere in that house that they didn't tell you that they're going to bring their cat. And you want them to know upfront that these things are going to be done quarterly. And you personally do not do it. And I recommend you not do it. I recommend you have your property manager do it, or just a random third party. But obviously that they need to come like trusted, like maybe even a home inspector, because you never want to get too personal with your tenants, because once you become friends and friendly, they could possibly start, taking advantage of that. So you want to have a third party person go in. There's companies called WeGoLook.com. You want to make sure you know who you're sending in there as well. It needs to be a reputable character or maybe even a licensed home inspector. A lot of times they'll do these things for way more of an affordable price. Now, if you're trying to save money, if you're on a budget and you're local to the house, yes, you can do it, but just be very careful to keep it like in and out. And then also you want to give them plenty of notice, like give them at least a week notice so they can go in and get the house clean, hide the litter boxes, get rid of the cats, things like that. I don't recommend just showing up unannounced because ultimately these people are paying you to live in that property. All right, let's talk about leases. Are you gonna do a long-term lease instead of a 12-month lease, or maybe a short-term lease, 6-month? I found a lot of short-term leases that are doing 6-month furnished apartments or properties are doing really well. And then you got the short term, like the vacation rentals, VRBO or Airbnb, that's doing wildly well right now as well. So you want to know what type of lease you're going to provide. Are you going to have it furnished or not furnished? I prefer, the 12-month lease because I'm more of a passive investor. I don't like phone calls from tenants. I don't like managing the properties. But if you're going to have a vacation rental, make sure you absolutely have an amazing property manager, unless you're looking for a full-time job. Then manage it yourself. All right, more on keeping the best tenants. It's a little bit about the law of reciprocity. You want to make sure you're always serving your tenants. You want to make sure you're checking in with them on that quarterly walkthrough. You want to make sure like things aren't going wrong. Like, does this room need painted, or does this siding need repaired, or does the front doorknob need like a little bit jiggly? You want to make sure these little tiny things, these little repairs are fixed. Like, is the air conditioner serviced? Is it cleaned? Like, are they replacing the filters? Because you don't want your tenants starting to feel like the place is going downhill. There's a reason why these tenants move every 3, 4, 5 years, because they move in and the house is nice, and then you don't fix one thing for the entire lease, then that's not what the tenant wants. They want to move into another freshly painted, clean house. And so just know that if you want to keep the best tenant, you also need to serve that best tenant and understand what they're looking for. Maybe communicate with them quarterly, like, hey, how's the place going? How's it treating you? Are there any repairs needing done? Just kind of check in. That doesn't mean you're going to just go and paint the entire house for them and do little random things. You want to just kind of see where things are at and make sure they're staying happy. All right, and lastly, one of the biggest things is tenants want a safe, clean pretty environment. So let's talk about safety. You want lights that actually come on, like for motion. You don't want a dark, dingy, weird place at nighttime. You want the lights to come on. And number two, maybe some fences for their dogs to run or their children to play, and then a little playground out front. You might think, oh my gosh, I don't have the budget for a playground. You can literally buy a playground for $1,000 online at Home Depot and provide such a better, nicer quality of life for the children that are growing up in your apartment complex rather than them having to wander away from the home to go play somewhere else. You want to keep those kids close to home so their parents can keep an eye on them. And then finally, landscaping and gardening. And just make sure that you're providing some nice lush landscape, like plants. Low maintenance plants are great. You know, if you can eliminate the grass, that's awesome. But have it a place that they're proud to call home. That is the absolute best way to manage a multifamily property. Hey guys, I hope you've subscribed and liked this video. I also want you to check out my other video on how to make money on multifamily homes.